All right, folks. So here is the first review of 3 new documentaries being released by Steve McQueen, and this one is entitled Black Power, a British Story of Resistance. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel today for another review, and today we're going to be reviewing the film Black Power, a British Story of Resistance, which is going to be releasing on Amazon Prime September 17th. Now, yes, this is one of 3 new documentaries being released by Steve McQueen, and this is the first one I wanted to check out, in no particular reason. I think it just was the first one that popped up, but nonetheless, I will be checking out all 3 of them, and we'll have their own respective review. But this one, narrated by Daniel Kaluuya, who is fantastic, obviously, and he was also fantastic in his narration role here. This was super interesting. One, because as much as I'm still continuing to learning about my own U.S. history, being able to learn more about Britain's history in returns to African American history and Black and people of color history, this was all eye-opening to me. So the first thing I have to say is that there is so much information piled on within 90 minutes of this documentary. So much information, so much with so much testimonies coming from iconic figures who lived through this lifetime. It's really a lot to pile on. So this, by all means, is one that you have to take your time with. Probably watch it a few times because you're getting a lot, and it's good. It's very empowering. It's very for anybody who wants to learn more about the Black Power movement, and even for the ones who thought that Black Power and social injustice or racism only existed in the United States for whatever reason you would think that. This one is an eye-opener, but the biggest thing for me is the connection to Britain from the U.S. And so in this documentary, you're highlighting back into the U.K. back in the 60s, and then going into the 70s, about the people of Britain fighting back for police brutality and racism. And not just that too, they also fought back for poor housing commissions, educational systems, and not only just for Black people but for Asians too, and for women. So they were doing what a lot of the things that you are accustomed to knowing about either currently right now or in our own history. And it was very eye-opening to see. Not to mention, you had folks like, and by the way, you got to see some rare archival footage of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Stokely Carmichael, who are, iconic activists of the U.S., but also seeing what they did there and how their influence, motivated the citizens of Britain to go forward with their movement and the Black Power movement. So there was a lot that was going on here, and I with just so much going on, I think I want to kind of talk about a little bit of the structure of the documentary, and then I want to talk about some of the other things that jumped out to me. Again, you're getting stock footage, archival footage, and while you have people pretty much giving you the timeline of how events happen in the UK, events that happen in the US, and how that influenced the things in the UK, and very how history repeats itself. A lot of the things that were happening here we're seeing right now in the Black Lives Matter movement, and obviously a lot of the parallels for what was happening there was also happening in the States as well. But let it be known that because one may tend to think that while racism, and while being being American, you may think that quality of living was better in other places such as Britain. This documentary may have you challenging that, because they explain to you about just the history of how racism and oppression was for them, and how it was even worse at times because of where they were at. because of the mixing bowl of culture within Britain, and because they didn't they didn't have figures initially like Martin Luther King that was able to go to the forefront. Also, they also explained to you how with the Black Power movement, how there was like subgroups of movements that were kind of trying to use that platform for own personal benefits that was deemed negative, and obviously was it didn't go over well with even people within a Black Power movement. So people like Michael X, who was just basically stealing money from everybody, and he was the loudest person in the room, and while that seemed to have went across as like he's doing something, it wasn't, and it gave a bad perception to everything everyone was fighting for. So it's just interesting how they were able to really break down a lot of that, and really explain to you, how did it feel to be on the forefront? How did it feel for the kids? How did it, looking back at things now, how things are, very eerily similar to what's happening now in society. And regardless of where you're at in the world, a lot of people went through a lot of these same predicaments and circumstances of social injustice and racism for Black and colored people. And I think that this was just another glance into how society, how one may challenge how far society may not have really came, because things are tending to repeat itself. But you're able to look back at the battles that was fought by the people in Britain, the battles that they won, the battles that they lost, and being able to reference that and use that information to move forward for everything that everyone's fighting for today. So it is very important to understand that the Black Power movement in Britain was overlooked. A lot of people didn't know about it. I didn't know about it. And this documentary clearly shows the struggles that the citizens face. And all they wanted to do was be treated fairly. And when it wasn't, they fought back. And that's what this film highlighted it. And, you got to talk to different iconic people, activists, who was on the forefront of these battles, and them being able to break it down for you, while at the same time Daniel Kaluuya is presenting a lot of the information of things. And it is super easy to follow in regards to the timeline, but it's so much information, and obviously feeling connected to it also brings another emotional toll to it. And overall, it was just really good, very informational and empowering. And this is definitely one who's looking for a really good documentary to check out. This is it. This for 90 minutes didn't feel like it. It breezed by, and I don't know if I'm stating contradictions here, but yeah, for 90 minutes it went by really easy. But man, was there a lot in that 90 minutes. It's almost like getting like a dessert, and you look at the calories, you're like, wow, all that was in there. And yeah, that's it. But yeah, folks, this is Black Power, a British story of the resistance. I'm going to check this out again. I don't, it's not going to change how I feel about it in any source, but I need to really sit back and take a lot of the information I was being told, because some things hit me and I was just kind of like, oh wow. And now having a chance to kind of metabolize a little bit to get this review done, I actually want to go back again and kind of see if there's any other information I may have overlooked and I absolutely need to obtain. And that's important. So yes, folks, check it out. Jump in the comments and let me know your thoughts about this when you check it out. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon. And obviously the other two parts, well, not two parts, but the other two documentaries they have. Definitely check out those reviews once they drop too. But yes, thank you for tuning in, folks, and I'll see you around very soon.